Okay, so now we talked about graphing the simple versions. Now we're going to talk about graphing a rational function that has translations on it. Okay, and you know what? It's exactly what you guys are used to. You find your x, and that tells you which way you're moving, left or right. It's always the opposite of what's with x. And you find your, you see what's at the end. So your h and your k, same thing. What's with x is the way that you move left or right. What's at the end is the way you move up or down. And the key thing here when you graph these functions is to always move your asymptotes first. And these things, whatever's with x, is a clue as how your vertical asymptote is going to move. Okay? And whatever's with k, whatever's at the end, is a clue of how your horizontal is going to move. Let's see that in an example here. We want to graph this rational function, negative 4 over x plus 2 minus 1. Okay, a few things we can do here. We can look at our horizontal and our vertical asymptotes first. Let's do that. To figure out our vertical asymptote, that is the one, of course, going up and down. We kind of talked about that with logarithms a little bit. A vertical asymptote starts along the y-axis. Okay, when you're talking about the y-axis, that is the point where x equals 0. That's your starting point. Okay, now here you see, we want to see which way that's going to move. It doesn't matter if we take our y-axis and move up. We're still on the line. It matters if I move this vertical axis left or right. So we have to decide which way we're going to move at that. I look at my equation here, I see x plus 2. I'm going to pull the opposite out of there. That tells me we're going to move negative 2. So we're going to go 2 spaces in the negative direction. So we're going to go 2 to the left. So we're going to take our vertical asymptote here, and we're going to go 2 left. 1, 2. Now I have a vertical asymptote at x equals negative 2. It's really confusing because when you think of a vertical, you always think y. And that's not the case for this asymptote. When you're talking about that line, it's when x is 0. Okay, so whenever you have an equation x equals negative 2, quite literally it means go to negative 2 on the x-axis and make a line. Okay, same deal for the y. The y-asymptote, or the horizontal asymptote, is when y is 0. So we start along the x-axis. Then we're going to look at our equation for our clue of which way we're moving. It doesn't move if we move left or right for a horizontal line. We care about which way we move, up or down. And according to my equation, I'm going to move down 1. So I'm going to go to my graph, down 1. And I'm going to draw in my asymptote. From here, you guys have a few options, okay? You can look on your graphing calculator, enter it in. When you do that, please be careful to use parentheses around that and around our whole rational function there. Okay, so we can enter that into our calculator and pull up the table function to get your points. The basic sketch of it is our branches are going to stay in the same spot. They move with our asymptotes. Okay, so what I want you guys to focus on here is putting it into your calculator, getting those accurate points to help plot those branches. Because remember, they could be more spread out. Okay, you can also pick points for your XY chart there. You can try what happens when x is negative 2, negative 1, 1, or 2. Plug them in to get a y. Okay, now let's think about our domain and our range. Domain talks about where my x values are. Well, it looks like I have values spread out that way and that way. Okay, so all of my x values are being hit by this hyperbola. The only values that are not being hit for x that won't make sense are this asymptote. When x is negative 2, that's going to make me have a 0 there. It doesn't make sense. So my domain is going to be all real numbers except x equals -2. Same deal with the y's. The y's, everything is being hit except for that y asymptote. So my y, my range is going to be all real numbers except when y equals -1. Okay, so the idea here, move your asymptotes first, then plug it into your calculator to get those accurate xy points and figure out your domain and range.